I do want to take a few moments because it's a perspective not represented here today on the committee to talk about not only the U.S. energy revolution, but the fact that we also need to make sure it's coupled with the U.S. manufacturing revolution. We know we've been talking a lot about signals today, sending signals overseas. It's also important to send a signal to American manufacturers who are looking at bringing jobs home because of low energy prices, to make sure that there's a signal for them as well, because the low energy prices that Madam Chair that you've been talking about really are making a difference in terms of creating jobs here at home in manufacturing. And so, and I welcome each of you, and to have our Minister of Energy welcome to each of you. But I think it is important to put for the record that last month there was a study by the Charles River Associates. They found that using our own low-cost natural gas to increase American manufacturing output is twice as valuable to our overall economy and creates 8 times as many jobs as sending this important American resource overseas. I'm not suggesting that we should cap or end exports. What I am advocating for is a thoughtful, balanced approach, as others have said, to make sure we find the sweet spot. We've still got 10 million people out of work in this country, and people know that manufacturing jobs are good jobs for us. And so I think we have an important balance to do. With Monday's announcement, the DOE has now approved 6 export facilities with a capacity of over 9 billion cubic feet per day. And I think it's really important that we move forward with the right kind of analysis about the impact on prices. We don't know for sure. I'm concerned that as we've looked at updating studies, that a company building an export facility actually funded the update of the NERA study. So I think there are other perspectives that are important. We have a study from Purdue University. It found that LNG exports between 6 and 12 billion cubic feet a day result in declining American GDP and higher energy prices for consumers. The Purdue study concludes that while the natural gas sector benefits from more exports, other industries and residential consumers lose out due to high energy costs. I think it's important. We can debate that. That may be true. That may not be true. And it may be it's not true. It may be that as we move forward, we will find that we can do both, as the panel has talked about, which would be the best of both worlds to be able to do that. But I do believe that the DOE should conduct a new study on the economic impacts of exports and move forward in a thoughtful way because of the impact on the American economy. I'm deeply concerned about what's happening in Ukraine. I do not underestimate what is happening around the world, but I also know what is happening here at home. What is happening here at home with 10 million people out of work and a renaissance in manufacturing leading our recovery that is so very important. The Boston Consulting Group concluded that affordable natural gas prices could lead to 5 million more manufacturing jobs by the end of the decade. The American Chemistry Council has identified 120 newly announced chemical and plastics manufacturing projects with over $100 billion investment. This is great news for us. Yet NERA study did not include these projects, nor does the EIA's 2013 annual energy outlook, which NERA used to update its study. So I just think it's important to say that for the record, and I will get in a question, and that is, this, all of you talked rightly about this being long-term as we look at developing export potential. And so first, I think it is important to talk about, it'll take several years to get something online. Once they're approved, it's up to private companies to decide where to send the gas. They'll decide based on market pressures. So it seems to me when we look at the fact that in Asia right now, prices are nearly $16 per million BTUs versus Europe, where prices are $10 per BTUs, per million BTUs. I would ask Mr. Chow, wouldn't you think a company would want to go to the highest bidder, and chances are our natural gas will be going to Asia?
While that may be true, Senator, I also think that we will continue to maintain a level of competitiveness in this country because we have the advantage of being sitting at the source of that gas rather than having to spend $4 to $6 per million BTUs just to liquefy and transport that gas and regasification. So some level of competitiveness edge will be retained in the U.S. The other point I would want to make to you is that to consider that long-term investors in manufacturing also need to know that there will be a stable supply of gas that's available. Absolutely. And we have had times in this country when the natural gas price dropped so low as to make us concerned about long-term viability of sustaining that supply when it dropped below $3 per million BTU. Where that sweet spot is for elected officials and policymakers to make, not for an analyst.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I look forward, I know my time is up. I look forward to working with you, but I do think, this is not easy. I don't support stopping exports or capping exports, but I do think it's important that we move forward in a thoughtful way.